of a tanker person up done by foreign, and they have to get in touch with headquarters and get back to you. So I wrote down all their questions. When it was my turn to defend my, and when I finished, before I could open my mouth, I read Adam says, give him the contract. So
wow.
that was
wow.
That was how I now found myself winning a 900,000 naira then contract. But now listen to this. When we were cleaning the empty Tuma, which was anchored off Bonny, so I was moving men, tanker and things. But I noticed that every time we were going through the creek, there was this rickety-looking boat that was moored in the middle of the river. So one day, I told the flyboat driver to take me to that boat. So I climbed on board. It was a tugboat. All the body was rusted and rickety, but I looked through the fan light into the engine room. The Caterpillar engines were looking literally new. So after I won the contract, I made a profit of about 250,000 naira, which could have bought me a beautiful car, because I didn't have a car. I lost everything. I headed to look for the owner of that boat. Eventually, I located Chief Mumun in Lagos. Cut the long story short, he sold that rickety boat to me for 50 into my coverall, and hired a few people, and we transformed that boat into a functional boat. Before I could finish, Shell Kidney Island is having a professional enjoyment. I didn't realize somebody would have need for it. That was how Shell took that boat for the first 6 months at 800 naira a month. And here now.
All right, that said, you saw that opportunity, private ship.
A lot of swamp operations and activities, whereby Shell owned the assets and ran the assets themselves under foreign supervision. So at the stage, Shell now decided to send, I think for most of the companies then, it was a question of let me just do business and make money. That was the thing, but I wasn't in the business of making money. I was just enjoying seeing the profession, doing something.
You had become passionate. In shipping, it's usually said that cargo.
Well, you have service. It is the service that determines the asset that is required. But in the new assignment I have now, which I'm not going to delve into too deep more about that, especially knowing that, listening to the Honorable Minister of Trade, who really spoke extensively about the need for this country now to go international, regional in shipping and re-establish a semblance of the defunct Nigerian National Shipping Line. That's where that question comes to. I hope we have the opportunity to talk about that sometime.
All right, sir, thank you. I hope we're enjoying this session. All right, thank you. So from the time, I did a bit of calculation, and so from the time 1986, and MV Osayeme was actually Star's foremost vessel to play in the oil and gas space, offshore space. Could you give us a brief on what was happening that 23 years, especially for young companies who are still trudging on and are expecting like a huge break even in 5 years?
Okay, in summary, my philosophy and policy at the time was clear. Every money I made belonged to the company, and I put almost all that money back into the company. So that led to a growth of my flat top badges, water badges. At that period, I built up that fleet. I began to train a lot of Nigerians and strengthen them in even swamp operations. In the year 1993, when I lost everything. That's a different story on its own. I lost literally everything, and I went into depression.
Would you want to share?
Courtesy of a Nigerian bank.
All right. So thereafter, because I have the privilege of reading the book and actually hearing some of these stories firsthand, thereafter, that was when Stars Shipyard came, right? Right, sir? Stars Shipyard came after that period of loss. So,
Correct.
All right.
It was whilst I was in depression, 1993. For 6 months, where's Dr. Moibo? Dr. Moibo was here earlier. Dr. Moibo his company was the company secretary for Stars Investment, and when we lost everything, I took him to London to see if we can, start afresh. And I tried everything, and nothing was showing up. So what I did, I remember that as a surveyor, every time I went offshore to carry out surveys, every vessel out there was foreign, number one. And then for the slightest underwater repair required, then these vessels have to leave Nigeria to other countries to look for shipyard opportunities. So it was then I said, look, okay, I've lost everything. Let me look at establishing a ship repair yard. I think you saw that there. From zero, I was dreaming of multi-million-dollar Afro-Exim Bank, honorable ministers, today have approved $365 million for the expansion of the shipyard. Not for the commencement, for the expansion of the shipyard that Uwagu and his team came to look at. That was just nothing, but we're now taking it to
basically built another company did with Green Waters. One of the things, or two of the things were found out, because we had to talk to several ship owners within and operators within the Nigerian maritime space. Everyone talked about two things, basically: breaking the IOC barrier and ship financing. And if you recall, that's what led to the ship finance event that we had, to air that documentary. I'd want to ask how you have navigated that waters, How have you, first beginning with Total, that gave you about 5-year contracts, So how have you been
That's
able
a
to
very
navigate?
good, very, very, very good and important question. I think any venture, I think you need to be very, very well skilled, trained, and understand the venture you're going into. You must be knowledgeable about it. So I was loaded with marine knowledge, because that's what I learned, and everything I did talked about professionalism. So when Total ties a bid for tender for a vessel of the characteristics of Osayame, players were all foreign companies. I wouldn't want to mention their names. So this Nigerian company decided to bid. So I was able to put a technical package together, and then I was able to put a commercial term together. But I came fifth. My company came fifth in the bid. So it turned out that the first 3 companies bidded extremely low, and they couldn't perform. And it went on until it got to our turn. They said, can we do it? And I said yes. And the contract was awarded. But now listen to this, and I make both say that for 7 months after NNPC board approved this tender that was midwifed by NAPIMS and the respective IOC, the IOC refused to sign the contract after NNPC board's approval. So that's one of the I took on the battle. I engaged all the people that needed to be engaged, and eventually they had to award the contract. They had to sign the contract. Now, one of the requirements was that a Nigerian bank needed to confirm that they were going to fund the contract. So one of the banks wrote that letter, but from call to tender to the point of building the vessel, it was about 4 years. And the rate we bidded was no longer tenable. And then the IOC decided to hold us on the rate. So the bank that was supporting us, till we got to MV Osayame was actually completed in 2009, commissioned in South Africa in 2009. NSC were there, big ceremony commissioning, and I was saying we're going to sail the boat the next day, and Damen Shipyard said, sorry, you can't take the boat. It's a joke. Owned by Nigeria, but stuck in South Africa. So I now decided to start looking for who can bail us out. I wrote to everybody I could write. You must listen to this. I wrote to the Senate, Chairman of Marine, House of Rep, Marine, everybody I could think of that I needed help. Nemasa. I said, there's a Nigerian ship in Cape Town flying Nigerian flag. I am not shy to say that our company is faith-based. So every December, up till now, last Friday, on a Friday, working day, we stop everything and we have a Thanksgiving in our company. Premises, big Thanksgiving. We were on the Thanksgiving day when I got a phone call from an executive director of First Bank that they have decided now to fund the boat. That was December 2009. And that was bit.
Much, GC. I'd like to implore and beg Richmond, could you kindly give us